All right, my name is Mike Socolow, and I'm the director of the McGillicuddy Humanities Center, and I'm delighted to see so many of you here today for our Poetry Pop-Up Festival. The McGillicuddy Humanities Center is a center at the University of Maine that specializes in promoting and supporting the arts and humanities. And next year will be our 10th anniversary, and we do lots of programs, and we have a newsletter. You can sign up for that right up there. All right, before I turn it over to Karen to start the program, the humanities specialist, I would like to do the University of Maine Acknowledgment of the Land. The University of Maine recognizes that it is located on Marsh Island in the homeland of the Penobscot Nation, where issues of water and territorial rights and encroachment upon sacred sites are ongoing. Penobscot homeland is connected to the other Wabanaki tribal nations, the Passamaquoddy, Maliseet, and Micmac, through kinship, alliances, and diplomacy. The university also recognizes that the Penobscot Nation and other Wabanaki tribal nations are distinct, sovereign, legal, and political entities with their own powers of self-governance and self-determination. All right, to begin our program today, I would like to welcome our humanities specialist, Karen Sieber.
Thank you very much, Mike, and thank you for all the poets that have agreed to read today. It's kind of a hard year to be a poet, a hard year to have public performances, and so we thought we would take advantage of having this wonderful space in downtown Orono to have an outdoor poetry reading to really showcase the great work of local poets both on campus as well as off. And so we have 9 readers today, and the first up is going to be Natalie McCarthy. Please welcome Natalie.
Okay, can you hear me all right?
You know, could you
Okay, is that better?
What?
Perfect. Okay, so the first piece I'm going to read today is called Commitment. I tread my path with intention through a world of winding roads, pursuing quests of my own invention, ignoring an endless stream of goads. When I come upon a sign with your name written clear, I am wary of the fault line, anxious to preserve a life so austere. Yet your name is enticing, a mix of fear and lust to magnify what I am sacrificing, a choice between doubt and trust. I step out of my mind and into my heart, ready for a partner, no longer living apart. Thank you. Okay, this next piece is a villanelle that I wrote called Walk Away from Thoughts That Drown You. Walk away from thoughts that drown you and wake up to a startling sun. See the light of day to start anew. Though it's true the water is blue, the truth is a tale well spun. Walk away from thoughts that drown you. We find buried regrets to pursue in the wake of a life undone. See the light of day to start anew. Remember how the wind blew and Mother Nature's beauty won. Walk away from thoughts that drown you. Return to the place you once knew, where the mind was a place to run. See the light of day to start anew. To forgive is to breathe and construe. I have no more emotions to shun. Walk away from thoughts that drown you. See the light of day to start anew. Okay, and this last piece I'm going to read is called The Visitor. Watering the garden in the warm summer air. Crickets for company as the sun awakens. A cascade of water from an old green hose. Cold, careless, clear. The flowers cheer. A hummingbird arrives, iridescent and restless, bathing in the spray of a waterfall. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Natalie. And next up is Ella Harrenstein. Harrenstein?
Harrenstein.
Harrenstein.
Do you want me to hold the microphone?
Yeah, could you actually hold it?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Can everybody hear me now? Okay. So this is my first poetry reading, so first of all I'd like to say thank you for this opportunity. And this first poem is called The Wrong Color. My sight obstructed by rose-colored lenses, everything toned a pinkish hue, dangerous feeling of infatuation, making me red in the face. On my way home, cut it, the string's the wrong color. This next poem is called My Collection of Thoughts, and it's directly inspired by Pablo Neruda, who was a Chilean poet and politician who popularized this style of poem. Where did my cat's tail go? Do I really want to know? Where do our eyes go when we close them? Am I really alive, or am I a figment of something's imagination? Has the man under the ground operating my sprinklers had a break yet? Have you ever heard of a bear serving in the military? If trees could talk, would they tell me their secrets? Do you think someone could ever love me to the moon and back? Why is my mind never quiet? Oh God, did I leave the milk out? What has my mom lied to me about? Would she lie to me about lying? If I were the oldest, would I live my sister's life? What if rain came down all at once, instead of in the shape of teardrops? Why is Monday the villain, when Sunday is the start of the week? If people exist, why can't ghosts? How old am I turning this year? Wasn't I a sophomore in high school yesterday? Why do I have to pay taxes? I'm dying anyways, right? This last poem is in the style of an Italian sonnet, and it's titled Speak. When I want to speak, the words always leave me. Breathlessly stumbling, it's a losing battle. Speak, it shouldn't be so hard. How can you be so weak? Thoughts antagonize me, turn them off so I can be free. Voice grotesque and alien, a distortion conceived by my own cruelty. Unrelenting, unwavering, the ominous void within keeps me meek. The external becoming a euphemism for the internal. Exhausted and weak, silence now a mask, slipped off and crept among the debris. Waves washed me away in a perpetual cycle of monotony, swallowing me, only to beach me on the same coarse sand. Speak, and maybe I'll be able to sink under the upset. As the sun rises and falls, I try to silence this monstrosity. Maybe, as the sun sets, the waves will crash at my command. Speak, so I don't wreck on the shoreline of regret.
Thank you so much, Ella. Really wonderful job for your first time at a reading. Next up is Doug Barrett. Please welcome Doug to the stage.
Hi. First one I want to read is called Skunk Moment. Library parking lot, 6:45, dropping off books before heading to work, skunk shuffling along the curb in back, feeling its way, lacks only a white cane. Opaque plastic container on its head, one of those damn narrow-necked yogurt things. Intrepid forager, now you've met your match. So sad, so human, but what can you do? Maybe walk over for a closer look, keeping in front as he obliviously walks right up to you. You really game for this? He's scared for sure and edgy. Reach down, tug on the container. No resistance, he just lets himself be pulled along. Pull harder. A millisecond's resistance, nothing more. He only drags along just like before. Come on, you fool, I'm trying to help you out. Now what? Try pulling up onto hind legs. The little forelegs braced against your knee, leaving the imprint of each tiny claw indelible upon the memory. One more pull. Pop! Container in your hand. You run like hell north. He runs like hell south. Stop at the library door and watch him vanish behind the dirt mounds of the vacant lot. This next one is called Lizard Music. These are all from a hopefully soon forthcoming book called Bestialities, or Close Encounters on the Eastern Slope of the Sierras, where we lived for 40 years or so before moving out here. So, Lizard Music. Came back from pissing and found her peering over the back of my rock chair. Had she been reading over my shoulder? She stands erect, hands resting on the back of my seat, white underparts presented to me, fine, hard, little white mouth. I lean against my side of the rock, put my face down to her, and we talk. Still she stands, alert to what I'm telling her, making a plausible pretense of getting it. Now she politely drops down to all fours, hind legs sprawling behind, relaxed. Could pick her up if I wanted. Why don't I? Because I'd never see her again. You say her. How do you know it's a female? Did you check? No. Smooth head scale plates bulging backward over the nape, fashionable herringbone jacket, white on black on tan. Now flips around, faces the other way, and sits very still. Quantum leaps. Head down, staring into a crack. Flips around out of sight. Now peeks back over the rock. Pulls herself up and squats, staring out to the west with me. Then flips up onto the rock's back. Scratches chin with hind foot, rhythmically like a cat. Scritch, 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 very loud. Young redtail comes flying around the hill at eye level. She scans it. Breeze comes up, mocking and geometrical. Now she flits around the rock. On the way stops and scratches again. Scritch, scritch. Now sits very still at random intervals, cocking head this way and that. Looking out westward while I write this. Have to go now. May I see you again, little pulsar? No. This last one is called Watchers. About, well, you'll find out what it's about. Through willow mazes near impenetrable in noonday August heat cuts the canoe voyager seeking passage to the lake beyond. Movement on the bank ahead. Back paddle and halt. What danger? A horse's head appears, emerging to investigate the intruders, and then another, and another. More horses, half hidden, rest in the willow thicket, all of them wild. 5 sorrel mares walk out and display themselves, curling upper lips in delight as they drink. 5 sorrel mares observe their observers. How rare to see humans, and so close up. Watching with sidelong horse sight, never all drinking at once, the mares listen to the murmur of voices over water, to the clunk of paddles against gunwales, to the slurp of paddles dripping, holding the canoe in place. Connoisseurs, they catch the savor of sunscreen worked into paddle handles and the bouquet of human sweat. How long will each group stay still and stare at the other? Who has the most time to spare?
Thank you, Doug. And next up is a good friend of the McGillicuddy Humanities Center, François Amar.
I'll try standing here and seeing if that works. Can you hear me? Is that all right? Well, thanks so much to McGillicuddy. I moved out of the frame here. Sorry about that. So happy to be here, and so thanks to the McGillicuddy Center for putting this on. Great idea. Happy to be reading here at the library as well. My first poem is called Primum Mobile. Stella Polaris, Stella Lucida, O most constant star, do you tire of all the attention, or is guiding what you live for? I see you above the points of spruce and tamarack, trying not to fall into the dipper as the universe unfurls. The laws of attraction, of action and reaction will displace you from the center of the frame in about 2,000 years, to become a streak like all the others, after image burned onto the detector. You can blame the moon, always trying to change everything. You'll be center stage again in 1,000 generations. Try to think of it as a short recess. And this is a poem. Several of these poems, I have to say, are inspired by a workshop that Kathleen Ellis puts on. Thank you, Kathleen. This is called Ars Poetica 13. It's a 13-line poem with an apology, or at least a nod to Emily Dickinson. How to build a poem. Start with a memory glistening in the oblique light of late afternoon, or a sounding distant as an organ's solemn tune. Start, as always, with a truth shard that a latter-day printer's devil swept, or is scrabbled from the dusty drawer where diaries are kept. Add a fragment or two, then pause the accretion to smooth away the glue. Does the image deepen? Is the timber true? Let's see if I can the stick. I've got two others. This one is a COVID poem. It's called Pour Michel, or in French that's For Michel. I barely knew Michel, my distant cousin, Paris distant, second or third cousin, I think, at some degree removed. But I missed him. I missed the dinner we never had together, but planned for on that fleeting day in July in Paris, in the time when time didn't plan to end. I miss the Michel I'll never get to know, and all his Casablanca stories, almost like the grandfather who died, leaving me bereft at 5, when I learned I would never get to meet him, leaving me terrified of death's power to take away memory before it is made. Perhaps I can imagine my dinner with Michel. He praises his wife's cooking, begs me to have more of the fasulia, pours some of the burgundy I bought in the wine shop down the street. We make another plan. And for you Game of Thrones watchers, you know winter is coming, but it's not all bad. This is a villanelle called The 27th of December. Leave for now the hearth's warm glow in wintry gust and light so pale. Walk upon the newly fallen snow, and seek the sharp split footprint of the doe, as in silence, but for the rising of the quail, you think about the hearth's warm glow. The mystery track along the hedgerow is no more fleeting than your own new trail as you walk upon the newly fallen snow. While life and death do mix below, hold the secret signs in trust, and do not fail to love now in the heart's warm glow. Do not treat the weather as your foe, but take your coat from off its nail to walk upon the newly fallen snow. And as the fire within does fuel the stamp and blow, as the spirit seeks to find the grail, walk upon the newly fallen snow as you leave for now the heart's warm glow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francois. Next up is Wyatt Oglesby. Wyatt, welcome.
guys hear me all right?
Or actually, yeah, but hold it. Thanks.
Wow. Okay. Let's see. All right. My first poem is Questions. Where does the hatchling go after it has fallen from its nest? Is it cold outside, or are we reliant on the warmth of fire? When God sheds his tears, why do we always look down? If someone says they're ingrained like a tree, then why are they uprooted like a weed? Why are all the sheep in the field a shade of dirty white? Red roses are always picked first, but why do so few pick the yellow sunflower? This next poem is called The Forgotten Ghost Town. Nevadaville. The forgotten ghost town lay high up in the scattered teal pine peaks. A belt of torment could be heard way down. It was the scream of an outlawed freak. He was shot at the local saloon, and the story scared me as a young child. One day, I visited the town at noon. The sun beamed bright, but the heat cooled to mild. There it was, the saloon's door open wide. Its stair planks were decayed into compost. I hopped over them to see what's inside. Nothing was inside, not even a ghost. That day, I learned something quite valuable. Ghost stories are for kids. How laughable. This third poem is called The Summit. There was no reason to quit. The top was just a few large leaps away, but the rocks were plattered in such disarray. It was much harder than expected, I'll admit. The air was thin, and I needed to sit, but the path was clear. I didn't want to delay. There it was, the wooden sign on display. I had reached the summit. I decided that day I loved the gray stony peaks. The sight down the slope was daunting, and the path was a steep, jagged slide. How did I do that? How did I make it to the top? It took strength and courage I was convinced I lacked. My doubts were defied. Now the air was getting cold and the frost had covered my cheeks. I decided to depart, but that day was on my mind non-stop. And this last poem is called Which One, the Truck or the Car? The car was a pack of gray wolves. The truck was a polar bear. The wolves stood outside alone during blizzards, while the bear lay trapped in its tiny garage, a zoo cage. The wolves had lived many years with excitement and a good caregiver, but the polar bear's life had yet to see action and never had a caregiver. I saw myself driving the pack of wolves through the soft snow, but I did not see myself as a zookeeper to a giant. I looked at the truck one more time. I'll gladly keep the car. My dad would take great care of the truck. He was meant to be a zookeeper.
Thank you, Wyatt. Just a reminder to all the poets, if you can just give us the title of your poem, that would be wonderful. Next up is Annaliese Jakamides.
First of all, let me say I'm not exactly a good mic person, so we'll see what happens.
Sorry.
Do you want me to try holding?
If you can, if not,
Okay.
just tilt it towards you so it's facing you. Thanks.
This first poem is written after Ghetto Wall, which is an artwork by David Driscoll at the Portland Museum, and it's called Throughput. Insist on ferocious, inarticulate joy. You must. Dark could come again early, still, even. If not vigilant, aware of the flashing lights and those sitting on the curb, all these years out and yet not just. Much to do. Things can be broken or slashed, zippered in beautiful flying tents. So many messages threatening to keep us small. Don't be fooled or lulled. The long quiet of sleep, maybe rest climbing on your tongue. Tennessee didn't ratify 15 till 1997, and who else and where? We all know why. Still at it, other ways. Remember vigilance, days and weeks and months, years, decades, centuries. Bird unnoticed stands in the middle of the road, wings down, beating against brick and stone, ricocheting complacency. Now is the time to take up the needle, thread the reds and yellows, gold, black, brilliant ochres, and stitch together our ragged laughter, anxious bellies, the scars. No need to wield preopic clubs, be fearlessly iridescent. And I just want to add that Driscoll made this artwork in the year of the centennial of the 15th Amendment, and the poem was written in the year of the sesquicentennial. Naming begun. And I just want to put a little plug in here. This poem was published in a book by Literal Books. It's called Enough. And I just want to put out that if people don't know Literal Books, it's a Portland publisher, they refuse to do Amazon. And so if you're not on Amazon, you really don't exist to the world. But the books are absolutely exquisitely beautiful. Naming begun for Elijah McClain, February 25th, 1996 to August 27th, 2019. Driving around the stars, slipping in and out of a box of darkness, black holes, red giants, white dwarfs are banging and twanging on space, while Elijah McClain puts down his violin and iced tea on his last walk home. Police again, black man again, no noticing again, until one violinist, two violinists, many violinists note what you see, keep showing up, lifting him up out of silence, a garrison of stars acknowledged, naming begun. And I will also note there that the reference to colors in this poem are actual cosmological terms. The last poem, I'm going to note that in these times, the personal is universal and the universal is personal. It's unavoidable. And this poem was written in the year plus before all of the explosion of life happened around us. It's called Kachechia of Time, and it was the year that my partner passed. Kachechia of Time. His heart punched me. Now, not just the random heart strokes that everyone else is talking about or was talking about yesterday, but the infinitesimal strokes that are what I most held onto after his last breath. I cannot begin to tell you the last breath, deep gutted scent of what couldn't be eaten. He so wanted that smoothie he asked the kitchen staff to remake in the last morning, and he would save scent of nutmeg and ginger, the bite of heartache in every breath. He lingered and scooped, his slawed fingers, the slight shred and sift of possibility. I am choking on dreams. It started that night after I laid my left ear, the one of the three earrings now only undressed holes, against the insidious pulse of his throat, rings of piano notes throbbing up through his slack lips, cracked lips of departure, my lips sewn into his. Who would have thought he could leave that way, so much accumulated in the cycle of unfathomable gusts? So just listen, and you will begin to hear the scent of cashews and okra, blessed moments of peppermint and unguents, his skin unblemished and raw. How could I have seen all of that and known that love was expansive beyond the moment, beyond the planet, beyond the crunch of bone and unfatted fat? That is when I understood, my fingers on the deep winded flesh of his cheek.
Thank you so much, Annaliese, for those powerful pieces. Do we have a Rachel here? Okay, next up then is Olivia Lhundup-Zebo. Welcome, Olivia.
I wish I printed mine out. Okay, so happy. This is so fun. Okay. Whew. All right, this poem is called Sky Sea.
Excuse me, a little bit louder, or
This
I can turn the microphone up.
Is that good?
Turn this up.
Hello. Okay. This poem is called Sky Sea. I walk my dog by the beach, which I never do anymore. The sky is all white with mist drizzle, and the green trees are green, and the water. The water, the water. There is no horizon to part white sky from white water. My little dog pulls me onto the shore to the edge of it, where opalescent mussel shells glitter the rocks, and I keep looking out where the ships anchored on the coast bob gently in the sky sea. This next poem is called West Virginia, June, and I'm not from West Virginia. I know. We go Elk River, funeral parlor, then the fireworks outlet. It's a spell, and it sticks to me like a wet shirt. We go past the vacation Bible school next right, past Darnell Furniture, Sissy's Tanning, Speed Queen, Keepsakes. We go past Goldfish and Deer Corn, past Mullins and Sophia. But not Lester, we take Lester. Then it's on Blue Room Road, sounds good on my tongue. We're in the holler now, and it's Green Hill after Green Hill after. And then we've just been going downhill ever since Lester, down, 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 down. Soon it's Slab Fork Road, and the nausea comes back like a lazy dog, raising an ear, opening an eye when the car goes round and round, turns. There are a lot of turns in West Virginia. Now it's Polk Gap Road, and we're headed up out of the holler, or whatever they call these things. I sound out the name in my mouth and tilt my head up to the open window to watch the trees. And it doesn't feel like real life. It feels like a movie playing in real time. This poem is called Juncture. I'm driving in the car when a large dark bird flies down from the sky, settling in a pine by the road. I keep my hands on the wheel and duck my head to catch a glimpse of the broad wings and white eagle crest. The boy in the car coming towards me has the same idea, and as we pass, I see him push his head out of the window to look at the bird. He doesn't see me, with his face full, and I just continue on, feeling lucky. Here's another one. I'm seeing my English teacher. Okay. It's called A Revival. I give myself to living. Fold like bread dough over and into myself. Follow good mud along softened dirt roads. Tooth summer's sweet spoons cold and silver in my mouth. I give myself over to living. Cast a long last look over my shoulder at what I leave. Wed soul with flesh, we weld in one breath without ceremony. Feed the earth of things, my nest of half-eaten hopes, I give myself over, and again. Break open geode mountain, yield to the fields of splintered stars, corral the brown and speckled calves to sleep in the gray barns. Rain the pavement cool and wet and charred and green, I give myself to living, I give myself over and over again to living. And do I have time for one more? Okay. This is called the good sky. I gorge myself on the good sky. Nothing is good except this. I tilt my head too, like kissing, but the sky is too far and doesn't have lips. I push my hands up into it anyway, like I can scoop the shore blue into my hands and feel nothing but good. Be nothing but good. No, nothing can fill a body so like the sky. So do I gorge myself on its goodness and become nothing but goodness myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. Next up, we have Wenn Parker, who's been waiting patiently.
Thank you, everybody. Wow, that's really loud.
It's okay.
Thank you for spending your time listening to me and for the people who put this together. And thank you for everybody who's already shared. I've heard a lot of different themes in the poetry today. We've had some culture, some social justice and philosophy. And I have one poem that I want to share today, and it's close to home for me. This is Untitled. The working title, I guess, would be The King's Pawn. And it's a tribute to my relationship with my father, who I lost in a way that was beyond my control, as well as a relationship with God that I lost in a way that I could control. And hopefully I can get through it without crying. I used to be the king's pawn, but now great time has been spent retreating from my past life, scoffing at the thought of prayer. It's written, mountains can be moved with faith the size of seas, but even that's been skewered by the absence of doctrinaire. I'll never see the pearly gates, forgiveness for my sins, though the debt to you's unpaid, the price is hardly fair. Eternity is such a prize, so grand and out of reach. To lower goals I've set my eyes, to fight for center squares. He taught about the scholar's mate, but called it the mate of fools. He played by hand, but used his forks, and punished my mistakes. From you, I never understood, but he revealed the rules. He taught me how to sacrifice and when to play it safe. He'd offer Trojan horses and think ahead 3 moves. He had a plan for endgame. When I blundered, he would take. The lessons I apply to life were not from scriptures read. The errors with great consequence were all to be forbade. Omnipotence is credited to the Father in the sky. But all I ask from you, my Lord, the only one request, the proof of your eternal power, one deed before I die, a favor I can't grant myself for my eternal rest, is to give me one more sequence, one last chess game. Almost made it. With my dad.
Thank you so much, Wen, for that powerful piece. Next up is Brenna. And I apologize, I did not write down your last name.
Hi. Oh, that is loud. Okay. I also didn't print mine out. But
Can't hear you, Brenna.
I also didn't print any of my poems out, but that's because I ran out of printing funds for the printers at the university. This first poem is called An Apple's Tree. Apples grow on trees. They start as beautiful blossoms that bring hope of an unforgettable future. From the flowering ideas come the fruit of the labors, sun shining off bright red skin, juices condensing on the outside, dripping like sweat, bringing a sweet aroma. The apple hangs from this tree for days or weeks, no one knows how long. It would seem the apple and the tree were inseparable. But as the winds of change make the branches dance, the inseparable become too separate, and the apple falls to earth, leaving behind the life it knew among the leaves. It thuds to the ground and rolls away, leaving only its happy memories in its wake. But the tree didn't care, and continued to dance as if nothing had changed at all. This next one is called The Cry of the Forest. The cry of the night in the forest, lit by nothing but moon and dancing bugs. Creatures of darkness wail, whispers of loving kisses, tender hugs. And here I sit alone, none but trees for company. Dewdrops fall from my eyes as I plead the mournful melody. Breezes blow, rivers flow, the seasons they come and go, with phases of the moon and the trees as they swoon, and the echo of the soulful loon, hear me, hear me, hear me. And with each repetition of the nostalgic cry, the forest echoes in reply, hear me, hear me, hear me. This next one doesn't have a title, I'm sorry. Promises break like bones, snap. Who am I with me? Snap. Who am I with you? Snap. Do you miss me? Heart pumps blood into the carpet, laying in the pool during the summer. When did we dry off? I cannot stand on broken glass spread across my bedroom. When did the light break? Why don't I recognize these eyes? Why don't these eyes recognize you? Snap. Who am I? Snap. Who are you? Snap. You never called. Snap. I went. Snap. Can I swim? Snap. When will it turn on? Snap. Where did you go? Snap. I can't see. Snap. I can't feel. Snap. I can't move. Snap. Please, snap. Keep breaking me, because at least I know you're there. And this last one is actually the poem that made me realize I wanted to spend $20,000 a year to be a creative writing major. So, and it's called The Fear of the Deer. I don't like microphones inside. I went for a forest walk and self-talk and happened to stop and stalk and gawk and stare because there was a deer standing there. Eyes black like the night, standing in the sun's light, and for a second I thought he might come be with me. But he, when I started to step, 1, 2, 3, darted away, off to the forest to play, and I didn't get the chance to say hi, or bye, or my name is Brenna, and I'm a human, and you're a deer, and this is weird, but I hope your day goes okay. And that's when I heard the sound, like walls falling down. The forest was gone. I was looking around for my friend who met an untimely end, abandoned den in the clearing of the trail that I was walking in. And I left and I thought, if I had not been on that walk, I wouldn't have come across that deer who ran from me in fear and died. And I went home and lied in my bed, alive, not dead, which is more than can be said about my friend who met an untimely end. The deer who spent his life in fear, his last minutes in fear, his dying breath in fear. And that, my dear, is something that I've never had to experience. And I may be delirious, because everywhere I stare, I swear, I see the fear of the deer. In the eye of the guy with cardboard sign. Fighting sobriety, life of anxiety, seen by society as nothing. Our government bluffing that we're doing something, but we're not. And he's left to rot, and then he's forgot. And that is something that I've never had to experience. And I may be delirious, because everywhere I stare, I swear, I see the fear of the deer. In people fighting for equality. Yelling audibly, harmed bodily, no apology to the front lines. Breaking the confines, ignoring the bloodlines, making the guidelines, not on the sidelines. Brothers and sisters taking a stand, hand in hand, not worried about the latter, because Black Lives Matter. There's nothing sadder than a president who won't admit he's wrong. Swan song, sing along as they march past. Face mask, tear gas, all they ask is peace. for hate to cease, for pointless death to decrease, but the media brings an increase of fear, switching it to high gear, and it all becomes clear that this is something I've never had to experience. And I may be delirious, because everywhere I stare, I swear, I see the fear of the deer. I'm afraid to go outside. I'm afraid to look up in the sky, because it used to hold such wonder in my eye, but now all I see is smoke and flame, hate and pain, a world in disdain because of our fellow man. And now I understand why the deer ran when he saw me walking on his land, because he knew that my kind and our kind is the kind that could be kind if we wanted to be. But we would rather you be you and me be me, and we're all in this together, or whatever they say to make their guilt go away, because while we sit and watch our TV, there's someone near us who doesn't know when their next meal will be, or if they will ever get to see their family. And that's something I've never had to experience. And I may be delirious, because every I stare, I swear, I see the fear of the deer. Thank you.
Great job, Brenna. That is our last poet that we had signed up, but we do have another 10-15 minutes if there are any last-minute readers that want to join in. Wonderful.
Bella, do you know where Natalie is? Oh, no math. Did you already read?
I went first.
And what's your name? My name is Raya.
Welcome to the stage, Raya.
Hi, my name is Raya. It's like Mariah without the ma. And this poem doesn't have a title. In her most tender places, the earth longs to hold you. In your wild heart. She does not wait until after you have emerged from the cocoon to need you in your untamed messiness, to take from you what needs to be released. She is thirsty for your alchemical tears, hungry for your unknowing, for the wide breaking open of your heart, starving for your surrender, your release of control, your forgetfulness and your deep, deep remembering, your humanness and your divinity. Gently and fiercely, she awaits your return. This one, I don't know if this is the title, but the hashtag is Equinox Medicine. Sometimes the only thing to do is surrender to a place by letting it hold you. To swim naked in the cool late summer twilight, underneath moonrise and leopard print clouds and stars that shine brighter the longer you linger. Until you feel the medicine seep into every pore, until the waters inside you vibrate at the same frequency as the waters that consume you. Let them consume you so that the shift may move through you.
Any other last-minute readers? Well, I want to thank everyone for coming out today. It takes a lot of guts to share creative work with other human beings, but I think it's just a testament to the power of poetry and understanding the human spirit and as someone said earlier, kind of the similarities and differences that exist between humans. So thank you very much for sharing your work. If there are any poets that would like a recording just of your segment, we do have the video camera a little bit longer and the stage, and so if you would like to have your own little second reading with the video recorder, we're happy to send you a recording of that. So please stick around if that's of interest to you. And we do welcome you to finish up the cider and the hot chocolate and the donuts and other goodies up there, and feel free to stay and mingle and enjoy this, what might be the last last good weekend here, a little overcast, but still great day to be outside. So thank you very much for joining. If you have not signed up for our newsletter, please do. We have other lectures and concerts and readings that will happen over the course of the next couple of semesters here. So thank you very much for joining us. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, everybody.